Hello, and welcome to the Darby Creek Diaries. I'm Gale Thompson, and I'm thrilled to be here today as part of the weekend Craftaholic Hop, focusing on stash busting. Now, when I say stash busting, I don't mean the things that you use every day. It's the stuff that sits around that you haven't been using, bits and pieces of things, or things that you don't like that well. This is what I want to focus on, because things like black cardstock and all that, that's like gold. I don't bust that stuff. I hoard it. So without further ado, let's get started. Please excuse if you hear chewing in the background. I gave both my dogs little chewy sticks so they would behave. Obviously, the easiest way to get rid of paper is just to die cut letters with it and use them in various cards and have them all ready to go. And you can pick and choose what part of the paper you like. And it's super easy, and you can use little bits up, and that's a great way. I'm also going to have products listed below that I use, unless it's from a video tutorial that I've already done, and then I'll link the video below for you because I don't have enough room to put everything. And in an effort to be a little more green, I don't like wasting the boo-boo, when you stamp and you make a boo-boo or whatever on your white cardstock, which is usually 80 or 100 or 140 pound cardstock. I don't like to throw it away. Instead of using foam, you can pile them up and give your cards dimension. And it doesn't really matter what color your project is. I'm going to show you here in a minute that it'll work for anything. And here is the Big Hello Altenew die. And I'm just using some scrap that I flipped over and stacking up 3 hellos. And the top layer is going to be black. So I'm taking my handy dandy Memento Tuxedo black marker that I cannot live without, and I'm just going around the edges. It will look just fine when you're done. It can look sloppy. This is why I do it before I put on the final layer, no matter what color it is, in case the marker kind of slips, which has happened on more than one occasion. So just take it all the way around and get into those nooks and crannies, and no one will know the difference that you didn't use black cardstock underneath. And this is a whole lot less expensive than piling up good black cardstock. This is pitch black cardstock by Hero Arts, which is the thickest, blackest cardstock I've ever seen. I just love it. Now I'm using my art glitter glue with the fine needle tip, which is fabulous as well, and just getting ready to put on the black top. Now, when I'm putting this together here in a second, you're going to see that there'll be little dots of white. Well, that's the art glitter glue. However, it dries clear, so don't worry. It will look just gorgeous when it's done. The next thing you may not think of is just changing the color. I only have a couple of colors of this flocking, so for a tutorial about a poinsettia, I just recolored it. Not hard to do, and you don't have to have a huge stash that way. I'm also recoloring this gray cardstock. It's greener than it looks in the picture. When you know how you buy stuff and you get it and you look at it and go, man, that's not what I thought it looked like. Well, I have a whole package of this. So I'm just changing the color, and you can do this with about any color, as long as it's not real dark. And there it is, just using one swipe. And then this is what it looks when it's dry. You can also do it with glitter paper. A lot of this is off camera, I'm sorry. But you can just have one color of glitter paper and change the color of that. And the other thing is you cannibalize the patterns off the papers you like. That's an easy tip, but I just didn't show it right now. The other thing is paper piecing. A lot of these dies have lots of separate pieces, and rather than having it all be the same thing, you can dress them up. So I took this little Simon Says stamp little gnome and cut him out of a bunch of different colors of some scrap lawn fawn little paper pack, and just played around with it. I'm not going to make a finished card with him, but I just wanted to show you that you can get some cute looks, and it doesn't take a lot of paper to do it. These were just tiny scraps I had left over. Mary Reiner did a darling card for our Ohio Stamp Junkies background bowl, and she just paper pieced a few together. I don't know who has these gnomes. It could be Dare to Be Artsy. Now we can make gift bags or boxes. I did a tutorial on how to change the sizes of a bag just using one die, and just completely you can change the look. This is the Waffle flower little bag die, but the die is nowhere near that big. And now we also have one that kind of looks like a grocery bag. And so that's a way to use some cute paper up that, you know, probably wouldn't work on a card. And then here are one of my favorites. Divinity designs these little purses. They're just darling, and you can use all kinds of pattern paper for that. A couple years ago, I did a crazy quilt. The method's called stack and slash. That way you have things that meet up, and I still have a whole bunch of leftovers from this to make other cards, and that's a fun way. And this is just using a basket weave with different little pieces of cardstock that was cut out with a die. You can make envelope liners. You can just Google envelope liner template, and there's lots of free ones. And then this one, the package says 1998. I suspect that since that store closed in 1998, that I paid $16.25 for this. And I've never used it until now, but boy, am I glad I have it. These are just nice templates for envelopes. And you can make envelopes out of your pattern paper. I found some Christmas heavy cardstock from one of those albums, you know, that you get. This is a little wild for an envelope, but I just grabbed this. You could use it as, you know, for a gift card holder, I suppose. And you just draw the template on the back. This is really like back in the day. We didn't have all this cool stuff that you youngins have. We had to use, you know, pencils, paper, measure, rulers, everything pretty much by hand. And they just have you draw out the creases. I probably wouldn't even have had to use a pencil for the whole thing, but I did. You're not going to see it because it's on the inside anyway. And then you just cut out the traced envelope. It's really not that hard to do, and it only takes a couple seconds. And I don't mind cutting. I don't mind fussy cutting things. It's kind of relaxing. Now I'm going to get out my board, and we're going to put some creases in this so I'll know where to fold. This is an old Martha Stewart scoring board. I don't really recommend it though, because I think it's just a hair off for if you're trying to do a card base. Anyway, it's hard to kind of get through there too with that big fat Teflon bone folder, and that kind of heavy cardstock. But I'll muddle through. I hope you're doing well and enjoying maybe some cooler weather. And I hope you're not in one of those zones of the country that's having, you know, the fires and the floods. Take care of yourself if you are, and my prayers go out to you. I'm just folding up the card now, giving it another little good crease, and bringing on the tape gun. You don't see me use the tape gun very much. I'm more of a liquid glue gal, but it's made sense to do it for this, and it was right next to me. There's a nice envelope, very sturdy. You could also, if you wanted, flip it inside out. If you want to use the white side and mail it, it's a little less busy. Another way that we can use up little scraps is by using nesting dies. And there are a lot of nesting dies in this waffle flower stack I just got today. I just die cut a few things and just gonna play with them here for a minute so you can see. Laura Basson does a ton of geometric kind of design cards. She loves rainbows. I just wanted to do this as an example. You can cover up a card pretty quick with it. And you can also take several. I took every other one and die cut. And you could also nest in between. Unfortunately, I took the wrong every other one on the dark one. So it doesn't fit like I wanted it to, but you get the idea. Just tape them down and you'll get perfect little nested. And then the key to getting it straight is to just make sure your corners are lined up, and then you'll know that all the edges will be the same thickness. And see how you can just play around with these things like a little puzzle. You can play all day long if you want. And I probably would, but I don't want to bore you to death. And the obvious way to get rid of some of these is just slice them into strips and build card fronts with them. They don't have to be the same width. Just as long as it's a bunch of colors that please you, that's all that's necessary. I don't always necessarily have a lot of scraps left that I can make strips out of. I usually have big holes and things, but this is convenient for, you know, if you have a color that maybe you don't want a bunch of on something, just take little strips of it. You just put some adhesive on a card base. It could be glue, it could be stick it. That whole page adhesive, scrapbook.com's got some, and you just start laying your strips down. Now it is easier to do this on a diagonal. That way, if things aren't straight, people don't notice it as much. And I always need to leave a little overhang. I'm so chintzy, even with my scraps, I hate to have overhang, but you need to overhang your cardstock some. And just slide it in, and I kind of liked, I guess, how it looked the other direction. So just make sure you have a little more overhang. And this is kind of, it looks like a hot mess right now. And there are some pieces that I'll have to add a little white to. Plus, I'm going to cut this down anyway. But I'm getting it in my guillotine trimmer and just trying to line it up since I can't take it to the top and line it up. And hopefully making a straight cut on the side. I do like guillotine trimmers for when things are a little thicker. And then I like the Fiskars wire one for making sure things are straight. It seems to do, or if I need to get up close to something. This one isn't as foolproof. So now I'm going to take some of those little pieces and glue them back in the corner. I could just cut this down or make a die cut out of it. Do that big hello with a striped, paper. That would be awesome looking. But with this, I'm just going to piece it back together, and hopefully nobody will notice. That might be a good place for a sequin. I think I do wind up cutting it off though. And I added a Sending Smiles from Simon Says stamp. Now, another fabulous way is to trade, sell, or give away the supplies you're not going to use to somebody that would appreciate it. Even if you don't make any money, it's nice some organizations can really use your craft supplies right now. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you'll stop by the 4 other crafters who are going to show you more ways to bust your stash. Have a great week. Follow me, come back and see me, and take care. Bye-bye. Oh, here are a few other videos you may want to look at.